compliments of the season to everybody watching us. This is Ubuntu. This is Ubuntu channel, and we are talking politics on Ubuntu channel, just like we do every other Tuesday. Remember, this is an interactive platform where we encourage you, the viewers out there, to also have a view, have a say in everything that we are talking about by leaving a comment on the social media platforms where you are watching us from. My name is Lawrence, and thank you so much for finding time to join us this particular evening on Boxing Day. A lot of sports happening, obviously, a lot of things happening, and we are here to review the year 2023 in terms of politics and things that happened, looking at the stories that made big headlines in the year 2023 that we featured and talked about on this particular platform, and we try to build them up to where they are right now from the time that we first spoke about them on Ubuntu politics. Also, remember that I'm not alone. I'm with Mukelabai as usual, who has joined us and here to help us look at these issues and digest what's been transpiring uh, throughout the year 2023. But before we can even proceed, let me just welcome Mukelabai on the program. Mukelabai, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening. Good evening, Rollins, and Merry Christmas, by the way, and Merry Christmas to everyone in Zambia, our fellow Christians, our Muslims, Hindus, and uh, Baha'i faith people, and all religion. We acknowledge you, and thank you so much for joining us today as we come with this program of reviewing of our year or of our political activities that has taken place. I'm just hoping that everyone is gonna come on board. This is not just a program for Lawrence and Mukelabai alone. This is a program for every Zambian, every meaning Zambian who wants to voice out. Please come on board, say your piece, and then we move on. You know, we will express ourselves and our opinions are meant for our own consumptions. And if we err in our dissertation, that does not mean Ubuntu is liable. It's us. It's our own individual responsibility to take on the responsibility if we fumble in terms of the way we speak, the way we come out, if we injure the third part. So that's what I
Uh,
wanted to say.
Basically, Womkeleva has just put out a disclaimer that all views expressed on this program do not represent the views of Ubuntu channel and its management, but they are individual views of the person uttering the same. So remember that we are here to share what we think. But before we can get into the review, Womkeleva, just in passing, we have this issue concerning Mr. The Foreign Affairs Minister, who is being accused of shortchanging some Chinese nation named Mr. Zhang, who was trying to purchase a mine from him, and in the process got shortchanged by the minister, according to the information that has been picked up. Now, if you, Womkelabai, I will just ask you to make a comment on this. But I want to say, probably for the sake of the viewers out there, politics seems to be coming into this particular personal issue. Well, that has to do with the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, or should I say, a former minister now, because he has tendered in his resignation. And accusations are going back to the appointing authority, that is His Excellence President Hakainde Hichilema, on the fact that, if you remember last year, there was an issue of him coming out with a package from a Chinese firm that is Sinoma, and well, he was said to just have carried some certain package, which included a calendar, a diary, and a notebook or things like that. Now, seems like uh, same thing is happening twice from Mukelabai.
Well, thank you so much. You see, we have so many people that are serving in this government who still have a different view from the views of the incumbent or their programs. And what they do uh, in line in their private lives, I think we should learn to differentiate the two. Unfortunately, I don't know why we have this tendency of mixing the two, where someone's portfolio, just maybe it's because they are holding positions that are of very importance in society, and then we find the same people are involved in they have some private activities that are somehow raises a lot of questions that they, for example, in whatever has happened with the Honorable Kakubo, we don't have so much details over this program, over their issue, over these allegations. And if Honorable Kakubo has decided to tender in his resignation because there has been so many people that have been pointing finger at him, trying to discredit or trying to bring down his credibility, well, I think he has done the right thing by putting in the resignation, because uh, this fight or whatever he was been doing besides his ministerial position is in his private life, I don't think we as citizens play a very important role in his activities. The contracts that he enters between himself as an individual, or if he owned a company, and as a minister, because he knows, he has realized that he's now a minister, he doesn't want to involve himself with contracts with companies. He decides to sell his assets off to independent people. How they agree to deal with their complications in that area should actually be none of our business. But I think I see the reason why this gentleman has decided to tender in his resignation, because I believe there has been a lot of finger pointing at him. There was those first allegations where he was alleged to have gotten some whatever money or whatever corrupt activities were involved during his parcel issue. We have no privy information to that. But like I always say, that us Zambians, we have a tendency of thriving through these rumors and propagandas and hearsays and innuendos. And we are so good at not going through and asking real questions on the facts, finding out of what is really transpired, but we always rush to conclusion and start smearing people with bad names. But especially coming from a very terrible experience from the previous government that has been so careless and reckless, we do not expect this current government to be involved in any illicit activities. If you are a minister and you know that you have a viable institutions or companies that you are running, we are hoping to see some kind of, sanity and sanity in that ministry, or in that in your engagement, that you don't entangle yourselves in so many issues, illegal activities that may affect your credibility of being a minister, person that is serving the people of Zambia. Kakubo, I think, is one of the individuals that has really worked so well, in my opinion, in his own ministry. As a Minister of Foreign Affairs, I think Mr. President saw the need, saw the potential in this young gentleman, a young man, is one of the youths that has really shown how it is ought to be done. He has been very proactive. He has been very result oriented, and we have seen trips and trips of His Excellence taking place and being successful, meaning the minister really knew what he was doing. However, when we hear some of these issues coming out, where we hear these shortcomings that in his private life he's failing to run his own welfare, and that's why we are having questions to whether is he credible enough to continue holding this the high office of the nation as a Minister of Foreign Affairs, whilst having these issues. What is the intention of the Chinese companies coming back to him and start questioning what was involved in these in their contracts? If he breached, why didn't the Chinese go to court to obtain some order, to get some court redress or a lawsuit to sue him, but instead they choose to take it to the media so that we judge this minister through the public eye?
Well, we cannot rule that out. Probably that is their next step of action, or we cannot really rule that out.
Yeah,
But
but are they ready?
I just want to draw your attention.
Are they ready to
Um,
pay for compensation? To pay for the compensation that, because already he has tendered in his resignation. What could have been the reasons for him to tender in his resignation? Is it because of his involvement into this dispute that they have? So
well,
this could be one of the damages, and he may have a cause of action against these people that has decided to take him to a public domain where now his reputation is being questionable. I'm not
Mukelabai,
supporting. I'm not
Mukelabai,
supporting him. Bear me
um,
witness.
yeah, we got media reports yesterday suggesting that actually Honorable Stanley Kakubo was summoned to a community house by the Republican president to go and explain himself over the same scandal that he's being accused of being involved in. And looks like from the conversation he had with the president, he decided to tender in his resignation. So now we tend to wonder what kind of a conversation they had with the Republican president. Was he
Yeah,
asked
but
to resign?
we shouldn't be. We should not speculate. I know we Zambians, we thrive on hearsay and rumors and make conclusions. That's wrong as a society. We should dwell on facts, because these issues, when we start doing things like this, we will end up be uh, these issues will end up biting us back, because we are judging this gentleman before we even know the facts. Mr. President, the President of the Republic of Zambia, his interest is to save his image, to save the image of the government, and he doesn't want to dwell onto this matter. He acts on rumors and hearsay or innuendos. Sometimes stay away. Sometimes I tend to even uh, to agree with Edgar Changwalungu when he said, my ministers, when he stood and defended his ministers, where he said, my ministers can only be exonerated by the court, not individuals. Because we know it, because there's a lot of hate out there. People are not happy with our current ministers or those holding high offices, some of the individuals are not happy. Many Zambians, Zambian people, we are so jealous. Our jealous is in a sense that we want to show, we feel good when we see that the people that we're not happy with have been demoted or have been fired. And then we go and celebrate without necessarily knowing the facts on the ground. So I feel like this issue, if it is an issue that happened outside government, I don't see any reason why the government should be involved, why the president should even call upon his minister to exculpate himself over something that was done outside the scope of the government. I mean, this is where you find now people where the government is sued for unlawful dismissal or termination of contract, or the government can actually be sued for constructive dismissal because I believe he was given an ultimatum. I fire you or you resign. That could be construed as a constructive dismissal. And in a constructive dismissal, Honorable Kakubo can even go to court and sue the
The
government.
right to fire anyone when he wants to. He has actually the powers to fire and appoint anyone as he feels
Yes.
like. On
Yes.
that he feels like. Would someone sue the Republican president for firing them? Even for no reason, he can still fire and say, I want to change strategy, I need somebody else.
Exactly.
Those powers are
Exactly.
provided for in the
But
Constitution.
when, listen, the law is very clear. When you are awarded a contract, you are given a contract because someone has saw the potential in you, has given you, a contract. It takes two to tango, isn't it? There's an offer and there's an acceptance. And I mean, there's an offer and acceptance, and there's consideration where both parties meet, their mind meet. So I don't see any reason why the other person may not have a cause of action over the mistreatment of the other. If Honorable Kakubo decides or feels that he was pressured to tender in his resignation, despite the head of state having the prerogative of hiring and firing, one can take up an action to courts in the court of law and sue for unlawful termination of contract, despite him having the right to hire and fire. Anyone, every employer has the right to hire and fire, by the way. As also, every employee has the right also to terminate the contract or to resign or continue working. But if that resignation was meant for or came about in more like a coercive, that he was forced to because of certain allegations that are not justifiable by the government and that were done outside government, then Kakubo has the right to actually challenge the termination, or he can use this termination as one of the ground to sue for defamation or loss of his reputation or defamation if he proves these Chinese guys otherwise. No, he can sue. These are damages.
Mukelabai, let me bring to you some quotes from what Honorable Bowman Lusambo thinks on this matter. And interestingly, Honorable Stanley Kakuwo has an ally on this one who feels that actually it is unfair. Listen to this. He says, to start with, my contestations with Honorable Kakuluo are well known and they mostly border on politics and his handling of Zambia's foreign policy. However, I wish to place on record that as a Zambian, I believe Honorable Kakuwo is entitled to do business in Zambia, provided that his business transactions does not conflict with his office. Take note of that
Exactly.
point. The excitement around Honorable Kakuo's transaction should be examined carefully, as there is no law preventing ministers or any senior government officials from engaging in private business. Also, take
Who-
note of that.
Is
Uh,
that who said that?
Honorable Bowman Lusambo.
Ha! I'm surprised.
Let me continue. Let me continue. He also goes on to say the spirit of demonizing money or wealth creation is what is breeding poverty in our country and should be
Ah,
done away with. That's third point.
okay, okay.
Fourthly, it says, further, the only mischief, if any, that can be imputed in this transaction, according to information in the public domain, is if Honorable Kakuo shortchanged the Chinese colleague by not delivering on his obligations in the transaction, which will then bring a whole different conversation. And that conversation, he says, he says, firstly, he wishes to encourage Honorable Kakubo to stand strong and stand grounded firm in the transaction is if the transaction is clean. And secondly, he says he awaits the Anti-Corruption Commission to show the muscle they have been showing on the opposition by seizing the vehicle that is in question and also the finances that are in question. But overall, there are some points that there are 3 points that we take from the statement that Honorable Boma Lusambo releases, and the first one, I think, if I can recap, is to say there is no law preventing ministers or any senior government officials from engaging in private business. Also, he's talking about the spirit of demonizing money or wealth creation as what is breeding poverty in our country. He
Yeah,
also believes that uh, uh, Honorable Kakubo is entitled to do business in a nutshell.
yeah.
Do you
I
agree
think
with Honorable?
I am surprised. I'm really surprised, to be honest with you, and somehow impressed with the reaction of Bowman Lusambo, because I have never thought Lusambo would think that would come up with such kind of constructive argument in his deliberation. He is one of the individual that I know has been a little bit controversial with his, I think politics really teaches people to be mature. I am so impressed with his point. The only point I'm a little bit skeptical on was the other point where he talked of the issue to do with when you are serving as a minister, about the monies that you make, whatever. You engage yourself in illicit activities that borders on your credibility, and so if but however, the ministers, they are entitled to do their own business outside government, for as long as they do not conflict and use their position. That is the catch point. For as long as they do not use their position to influence their so-called businesses. When you do that, and if it discovered that you have been using your influence as the position that you hold in the government, then it becomes a conflict, and then it conflicts itself, and even the fight of corruption becomes an issue. The Anti-Corruption Commission can actually visit you because of your position in the state or in the country, and you are engaged in these activities that will put you in an awkward situation. The minister ought to have given up, ought to have changed his position if he claimed that the reason why he decided to sell the company to the Chinese is because of the government duties he chose. He decided to get away. Who are we to dispute with that? Who are we to even question his credibility? you know. But if the Chinese government, the Chinese company, the Cheng, whatever you call it, saw that there was a breach on the part of the minister when he's selling, because this minister, the question we may ask is, why did he decide to sell his company to this Chinese company when he is a minister? This is one way of trying to create or to part away with, to get away from entanglements with private sector, or to be involved in dealings with, you know, activities that may raise a lot of suspicion or questionable issues. So to me, I find his act, that probably his act was within his rights, that he decided to sell his company off to these Chinese. Now, how they deal with it, whether he swindled them or he lied to them or he breached some clause, it's entirely none of our business as a government to come in and start now blanket to him to say, because you breached, therefore we are going to terminate your contract in a government. But in the first place, we don't even know the intentions behind. Why did he decide to sell the company in the first place? If he sold his company, probably it's because he is now serving as a minister. He has been on in office for less than 1 year, few months, or 2 years as a Minister of Foreign Affairs. And through that, probably through consultation and through, it takes time for you to get rid of your assets. He has his own assets. What if he is in the process of getting rid of his assets so that he becomes clean? He doesn't want to be involved with any corrupt activities. But here we are, we Zambians, we are rushing into conclusion. Already, we have made him to resign without even following the right procedures, without even following what this person, what his intentions were. This minister in the first place is not a Dao minister. This minister in the first place was a hardworking minister. Has he abrogated his duties as a minister? Has he violated any clause in the ministerial position? If he has, what is it? Why is he put on a chopping board? Why is his neck put on a chopping board to exculpate himself for the company that he chose to sell? He chose to sell, to get rid of. Now, when those people who he entered a contract in with decide to come back to claim either more unfairness, then we want to turn around and say, you are a wrong person. You are evil. You are corrupt. Because that's the narrative that is going around. He was selling off his assets, meaning his heart was in the right place. He did not want to entangle himself with, he is a minister, at the same time is the CEO of that company. He was given money. He's entitled to his money. So to me, that's outside. That is, to me, that is the government. If the government interferes in this, then their government is acting ultra vires. The government can be sued for interferences. Why should you come in just because the issue is in the public domain from a Facebook does not make it legal, legit, because he has his own battle. That's his private life. What he does with his wife, what he does with his employee, if he fairly treats them or he unfairly treats them, it's entirely none of the government's business, and it's none of our business. But the people that are affected should take up their claims and put up the claim before the courts, not on Facebook. On this one, I strongly stand with the Honorable Kakubo on this one. I don't know the facts of the case. I don't know what he has done. But if this company was his company, before he became minister, and he decided to sell it after now jumping into government, or he has been given a portfolio and he wants to get rid of his assets so that he does not conflict his job with the current. To me, that's a plus. The people should even think about it. But the problem is, now we have a government, they are trying to save their image. But that's
Mukelabai, I'm going to cut you short so that we can make a switch and try and do a review of some of the biggest stories of the year 2023 in politics. But what we're going to do right now is just take a short break, and then we meet on the other side as we make a switch and talk about some of the big stories that made the Zambian politics anyway ablaze in the year 2023. Remember, this is politics on Ubuntu channel program, which comes to you every Tuesday, and my name is Lawrence, alongside Mukelabai, trying to share some of our views with you. See you on the other side.
Globally, 85% of infertility is because of infections, typically the chlamydia and the gonorrhea.
Your time is up. Thank you so much.
Since I've been mentioned, I can react to what comment Chinda just
I haven't finished my point.
Remember,
let me finish my point so that my brother can.
Does the Patriotic Front know the kind of damage they have done to our economy and to our country? I do not.
The alleged abduction of Pamela Chisupa, and this case has really kept us on our toes. And as much as
nobody has been acquitted from this new dawn administration cases that have been started. There's nobody that has been acquitted. Okay.
CJ, foreplay. I'm not talking about jump and begin acting like a kangaroo. No, foreplay. Many of us as Africans, we lack this virtue. This is not there.
Yeah, the time project to Malabo was about the first game toilet was Senegal. I think very Tutasan underrated because even the home up, you can see the way they are doing home up. But Munakati, what another winner carry no.
It's actually good if you start creating competition in the team. If you don't create competition, then you will have a problem. Who to replace when one is injured?
The names people have been calling me, I accepted them and I will come to them. But what I would prefer being called as a nickname, I would prefer being called Sambalung.
From it, we can't make the Bible fit us and have things that make Esther feel good, and things that Esther doesn't really feel good about, she'll edit out.
We're trying to represent Zambia from a different side of things. We just don't want to be regular, you know what I'm saying? We try to package ourselves to Africa and the world.
The issue of Millennium is being resolved seriously. We have never run out of maize. So one wonders what is happening. Maybe we need a more serious conversation with millers. You are a miller drawing maize from FRA. Why is your milling mill expensive? Is it your outlets? Colleagues who are doing business in our country, particularly in milling mill, don't make your profits too much high. Don't make your profits too high. Don't make the prices, make profits beyond the people. You are doing business because of the people. Be patriotic for once. Be nationalist for once. You can't buy milling meal cheaply and then you want a profit of 50. There is no need for anybody, for example in Lusaka, to sell your maize even at 200 kwacha. That is not acceptable because the maize price is still the same. And we have maize. We are giving maize to millers. Millers, when your outlets put the price so high, they inflate the price, you follow them and say this is not what we need. Strike them out of your list of people you supply to. Otherwise, there is maize. There is no need for panic. The prices must come down. And we will continue to work with the millers to ensure that they do the right thing. Otherwise, why get maize from the people? Maize which Zambians purchased at a high cost, and then you want extra profit. So there is no need for people, to go through what they are going through.
You are muted.
Apologies for that. Thank you so much for still sticking with us. And this is the first story that we are going to look at now. This particular video was taken in January of 2023 at the point when milling meal prices seemed to be skyrocketing. Remember, at this point in time, a bag of milling meal was going at about 150 kwacha, and there were rumors that in some places, milling meal had gone up to about 200 kwacha, and the vice president was seemingly talking against the same. Currently, the price of milling meal, the cheapest, is 230 kwacha. That is the ZNS produced Eagle milling meal, and the rest are still around 280, 285, or around 300 kwacha in some places. So the status quo remains that the prices of milling meal kept on going up even after that word from the vice president herself. Now, Mukelabai, let's look at milling meal and the noise that it made. Obviously, we spoke about everything to do with the prices, the factors influencing everything. I remember we had a program and spoke about all these things. And now, what is the way forward, looking at the focus, looking at what has happened in 2023, and obviously next week we will be in 2024. What do you think is the focus for the prices of milling meal per se? We can build up from where we've come from, that is starting from the year 2023 itself.
Thank you so much. The focus should be on how to make the production of maize available in our country. And there's no abracadabra. We need to just encourage our farmers, or everyone in Zambia should indulge themselves in farming. I know many people are finding it even funny. I hear people are even making jokes out of the president when he was giving some examples of Why do you have to purchase a VX when you can purchase a tractor? You know, this issue of milli-meal price, this is our own doing. This is our own failures. This is as a result of our own failure. We cannot even point a finger to the government. It is us people that have become lazy, or that have put our priorities in different, have put our priorities into different issues, unlike what is really going to make us happy and put food on the table. This time around, we were supposed to take advantage of this government by announcing free education, that we also embark on agriculture, where we are going to cultivate more food for ourselves, so that we don't have to stress. The reason why we are stressing today, buying milli-meal at 300 kwacha, from the 100 something kwacha, it's because the crop has been scarce on the market, because the demand has been so high in other countries, our neighboring countries. Maize meal is somehow a very, very important commodity that anyone in other neighboring countries, including East Africa, Kenya, for example, they would do anything to buy a bag of maize at a very high price, because nobody, this generation of ours, does not want to go and have their nails dirty, does not want to work. We don't want to work. We want to sit in an office, white collar jobs, where we want to get everything for free. Meanwhile, our farmers have been neglected. Our farmers have been given a cold shoulder by most of the governments. They have been given wrong advice. Can you plant this? Don't plant that. And the effects are being felt today. So if we have a government, or we had governments that had the foresight, we were not going to be in this mess. We were not even going to talk about maize price or milli-meal prices, because milli-meal prices is anyone can grow maize. You don't need a diploma or a degree to grow maize. Even to harvest maize, we need people that are engaged, that would produce, that are consistent, that have the patience to wait until twasumbula matava, so that at least we start now either using the same matava for we can sell at its raw or end product by milli-meal.
I'm going to take you back a little bit. You mentioned something very interesting, actually. You mentioned the president talking about or advising everybody out there to avoid buying VXs and big cars. Actually, young ones call them maskide. To avoid. So the president was advising the young ones to avoid maskide and try and buy a tractor to try and use here and there. And there was a reaction from one opposition leader. I think it's Mr. Sean Tembo, who said, who was questioning the president, under what capacity is he now trying to tell us how to use our own money? That should not be his concern. His concern is to make sure that everything that we deserve, everything that he promised, actually, the campaign promises that he promised, especially on the fact that he mentioned milli-meal prices will come down to 50 kwacha a bag once elected into office. Those are the things that he should be focusing on, ensuring that he delivers, and not starting to dictate how we use and spend our money. And he put a last sentence which says, as if we are his children.
You see, the problem with Shoni Tembo is bitter. And what is bitter of, I have no idea. President Hakainde Hichilema cannot reduce meal price at his own. It is already shown. We can already see that if it was according to his will, according to his wish, the meal price could have actually come to 50 kwacha himself. But the question is, can he do that? Can he attain that himself in his own individual capacity? He's not superhuman. The best thing we could have done is to get heed of his advice. To say, look, he is trying to advise us to say, if we stop spending money on illicity, on things that are not value, that do not make us, that will not even make your neighbor benefit, but only benefit you. You want to go out there to show off. This is not okay. Because we have seen some of us Africans, the way we are, the moment you have a little bit of money, instead of investing that money into something that is going to help your community, what do? You start buying things that have no use to you, that have no use to your people around you, but you alone, just to scale up your status in society. Zambia is a poor country. It's not a rich country. We are suffering as a country. And you have a president, for example, that goes and buy a Gulfstream that costs millions. And yet you want to use the same to go and beg money. You want to go and borrow more money, claim that we are poor. And you want to use the same jet, a jet of a billionaire, to go and borrow money to say, ngafurisheni kompeniko, so that I go and help my people. Meanwhile, you are driving or you are flying in a very, very multi-billion-dollar jet. Who does that? This is what the president was trying to tell you and me. He is not telling you to go and buy tractor. He's just trying to tell you, if I'm African leaders, to landira mapinda. Idioms. You know, that's why you love Michael Chilufya very much. And we love the Abena Kambwiri, they're trying to follow Michael Chilufya using the Zambian idioms, the Bemba idioms. Nchimochi Nena Hakainde Hichilema, when he's telling you to say, go buy tractors, not a VX, that is more like an idiom, telling you, use your brain. Taukwete pakwikala. That's kind of misappropriate. I mean, you cannot put your priorities straight. Prioritize things that matters to you. If you want, if we want Zambia to have meal be costing at 50 kwacha, it is true. We can do it. We can make it, because it only takes what? People to go and do the act, plant more maize, and sumbula amatabayene. I promise you, when you fluctuate the market with maize meal, the prices will be so low. That's what he meant. But reality, that's what he means. It means tractor by tractor. No, he's trying to tell us, let us live within our means. You are claiming we're a poor nation.
Probably that also answers Honorable Stephen Kampiongo, who was acting very surprised when he heard that statement and saying there is no country in the world where every citizen is a farmer. There should be division of labor. Others are doing this, others are doing the other.
That's the problem with it. When you are dealing with chaps that are ignorant, that have the low IQ capacity, you will hear such comments, because to them, they are thinking it is in that they bring their thinking in that particular box, instead of expanding their mind and say, look, what did the president mean in actual sense? You think the president is stupid by telling everyone to say, all of you have to become farmers. Come on, guys. For him to even start reacting over such kind of a statement, Kuilanga, that you are just showing or exposing your ignorance, that you know nothing. You know, we thought you are ministers, you at one point you served in the government, you can think beyond a certain position or points. But the president did not actually mean that you go. He meant go. Actually, if anything, we should think of he meant something else to say kavieni ngatakwete nganakwate mpia shtafamu ngaolefwaya. Do something that is going to develop, that is going to bring something to make value, to bring value to the nation. You cannot go and buy something that is so expensive. I've just given you an example of Lungu buying a Gulfstream jet when we are borrowing money from people. Two, we are failing, we are defaulting to pay in Congolo to our Congola. And then you go and buy the Gulfstream. Why? Why would you do that in the first place? How is that logical, honestly, out of all logics? How would a group of individuals who are calling themselves government or calling themselves a group of people that want to help the country, a poor nation, to go and buy a Gulfstream that costs $200-300 million, yet you leave your people in abject poverty? Who does that for just one individual?
In a nutshell, Mukelabai, the prices of millimil in 2024, what do you think is going to be the outcome? Do you see our prices increasing further? Do you see any reduction, or we will maintain where we are now?
Uwunga, to be honest with you, Uwunga, when it comes to Uwunga, especially things that we grow ourselves, we manufacture ourselves, ukuchula kuifwaila nishibupuba bwesu. To be honest with you, if you want us to be buying millimil price at 400, 500, then it is our own weakness as a nation, not in an individual. Nishibupuba bwesu, because we can manage to grow maize ourselves. We have vast and fertile land. We made a mistake for the past 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. We made a mistake. We gave wrong advice to wrong policies to our farmers, both commercial, peasant, and whatever, small-scale farmers. We gave them wrong advice to venture into growing soybeans. We are failing to eat soybeans. We are failing to sell soybeans. And we failed to grow enough maize to meet our standard. On top of that, our economy is growing, our demand is growing, the nation, the population is growing. How do you feed the nation on just a few farmers that have decided to grow maize because the rest have ventured in soybeans? We are not saying soybeans is not a good thing to cultivate, but many people, many farmers were lured into grow soybeans and forget about millimil, maize. What has happened? Here we are. This is the gap. So when that gap, the effects hit us, and we want to point a finger at the government. No, why did you do this? Why did you do? Come on. Ni fuego, ukuifuaila fueka. Maize, we can manage. This is our own oil that we have in Zambia. This is our own natural product that we can also be looking at to say, look, now if we need to proud. We cannot grow maize in Europe because quite snow, the sub-zero continent. But in our country, we can. How can we be suffering over things that we can manage to?
I feel you still haven't answered me. What are your expectations in the year 2024 when it comes to the prices of milk? Are we going up?
We are a reactive society. I promise you, we are a reactive society. Not until we feel the pain, you will see, I promise you, you will see the reaction next year. Everyone, today as I speak to you, you will find that, including those in offices with white collar jobs, I promise you that they have at least 2, 3, 4, 5 acres. Farms, yeah, they have farms. Next year, you'll be surprised how the market will be saturated with maize. This meal price we are talking about, crying about, it will be history, because we are a reactive society. We like acting on reactions. You know, when something has happened, we have felt the pain, we have felt the impact. You will see, because we don't want to, you know, we human being by nature, we avoid pain, you know. We avoid pain, we love pleasure. So now the pain that we are feeling right now, come next year, I promise you, we are not going to fall into the same ditch twice, just because Hakainde is not the one feeding us. These are chaps who are enjoying themselves. They're having their allowances, their monies as government. They just speak. We know what politicians can do. They can say this today, tomorrow they say something else. But they don't put money in our pockets. They don't feed us. We feed ourselves. All they do is to create enabling environment for us to access our businesses, to run our businesses. That's why we're saying that Kuri Kakubo's case, to say he is an independent individual. He should be mixed. You should not mix him with his weaknesses or his challenges outside to what is happening in the government. Zambia is going to have more maize next year. I promise you, we are going to harvest. We're going to have a bumper harvest.
What I'm going to do right now is ask you to just give your closing remarks, and be sure that next week we are continuing to review the year 2023. We have huge topics like rating the comeback of former President ECL into active politics, and the Patriotic Front from where they were starting January up to where they have disintegrated into the kind as things stand right now. We have quite a lot of issues to look at, and also make predictions to coming into the year 2024. And for this week, probably we spent quite some time talking about the breaking news that we had earlier on. Ubuntu channel is running on the page. You can read the full story on Ubuntu channel page on Facebook, where we are talking about the resignation of Stanley Kakubo and the circumstances that led to that effect. So for now, Mukelabai, I'll ask you to give your closing remarks, and then we shall continue having a review of 2023 politics next week.
Thank you. Leave Henry Kakubo to deal with his cases independently. Henry Kakubo is one of the ministers that have exhibited professionalism from the government point of view. Is one of the most intelligent and most hardworking ministers that I have ever come across myself. I have seen with my own eyes, and I think Zambians know that. Now, mixing his private businesses with the government, well, it will be so unfair for the Zambian to judge him based on whatever disagreement that he's had with the people that bought his company. If he sold the company to 2 different companies, that's his battle That's his wrongdoing. That is up to him. He has his own reasons, and it's none of our business as a Zambia, as a republic. We are not even concerned. Let the Chinese and Henry Kakubo battle it out themselves, go to court, sue themselves, sue each other, but not us acting. Henry Kakubo should have just been suspended, to suspend himself from the government so that he could go and fix this problem that could affect his government work. Telling him to tender in his resignation, terminating his contract, a well-viable, young, active minister, was unfair and unreasonable, and I bet to differ with the government. If Mr. Hakainde Hichilema has made him to resign, I find that action to be unreasonable, and the best thing he ought to have done was to provide. I know he has the right to hire and fire, but to suspend the minister pending his matter to be dealt with until he comes up with clean hands. If he was going to be found guilty or wanting, probably that is when the government was going to act immediately. But look at what this young man has done to the nation. He is not corrupt. He did not steal from the government. He did not steal from the Zambian people. He did it within his own, in his own works. Now, coming to the issue that we've discussed already, on the issue to do with the high price of mealie meal. We are in rain season. People have planted. We have seen musicians having farms. Imagine, musicians, you have money, Vane. Imama DJ, you have money. Imwe bakaponya, you have money. Majerabos, ma junkies, whatever you call them, ma illegal miners, they have the capacity, they have money. Imagine if all those people had farms. Do you think we are going to be hungry next year? Ukuchula kufwa fye. Zambia is a big and fertile country that can grow enough maize to feed the whole southern region of the country. We have the capacity to do it. So let's not take advantage. Let's take advantage of the weather that God gave us, the nice, good weather that God gave us. As for the other things that we may talk next week, I will leave that to next week. But otherwise, politics, we know what is happening in Zambia. I just want to urge the Zambian people to hold on to your guns, because this government has not yet shown their weaknesses. What they have shown so far is the fight to make life better for every Zambian, including those that treated them differently. They are not choosing. So for me, there's total tranquility in a country. There's no cuddlism. There's no a lot of confusions. So the best thing we should do is to appreciate the peace that we have as Zambia, hold on to it, and let us argue and dispute each other on matters of national interest and not degrading or dividing one another. Like, we want to negate other tribes just because they are from a certain region. To me, that's a miss. That's not what we want, and that's why we removed UPF in the government, because that was the way they were heading. So we want this government to be a government that is very inclusive, that is bringing everyone on board, and we see the traits that they are bringing everyone on board. We can tell from their cabinet that they are not selective, but they are trying to bridge the gap. So we need to support this government. as they are
I'm going to
trying their means
cut
to.
short and
Yes.
just thank you so much for finding time to be on this week's edition of Let's Talk Politics. Hope to see you next week because we have a whole lot to digest and maybe give some bit of focus into next year on these various topics. Mukelabai, thank you so much for being with us.
Litumezi tate sichabasabulozi muzue hande mupira hande mulimo amibuluke hande bana bambunga yasilozi bana bapoho yensu kafela mina mazambian lwa milata musike mwai kutwa bulutu Zambia kili fasi la luna aluyeni hamo luzama ya hamo luswalisane lutamahane alufeni michaha baluna misevezi balikani my youths so that Zambia can move forward to tomorrow. Machembele amwezi retire. That's the only thing I can say for now.
Thank you so much, and litumeze ahulu in that. And thank you so much to you, the viewers, who took time to be with us throughout the past 1 hour. And we enjoyed having shared some of the thoughts that we've had. Remember, all views expressed on this program do not represent the views of Ubuntu Channel and its management, but they are a representation of the speakers themselves. Good night and God bless you.